Hello everyone. Today's talk will be titled Working with Transcendental Views. And what that means is there are certain aspects of our perception where they're unspeakable, and so what do we do with them? You see, the intelligence of man is one where as an individual, when he looks at the world, he is moving towards integration. As an individual, all that your inspiration is coming from is from your collective. So what that means is all the separate fingers are held by the palm, which in a sense is holding all conception. There's an aspect of reality which goes from subtle to gross, and let us use the playful analogy of a madman, of a mad artist just splashing paint and getting a brush and just randomly stroking on the canvas. And you see this one stroke has areas that are very subtle and has areas which are thick, And so when we are looking at imagery, the distinctions and its depth is what really gives us what to work with. So transcendental views are moments where your individuality is experiencing your collective nature. As it does, there's a collective knowing where it's as if like you kind of see that you thought you were at the bottom of the mountain, but you actually always had the perception from the top. When you see you have the perception from the top, your linear mind changes. You can very deeply think and in a sense realize the nature of reality. When you realize that, you realize of one aspect of it which can go into complete emptiness, and you confront it, just as many Tibetan Buddhist monks do in their meditations. You confront the emptiness in them. In other words, there are many aspects, there are many densities, sensitivities. Existence is a very vast canvas, and so we see many colors, both externally and internally. But when we look internally, when we go trying to find Mr.Within, we begin to see that what is within us is not something that can be fully grasped in words. So what that means is you might do an epic backflip and you come and see how you define it to me, you explain it to me, I'm not having the same experience as you did. It's because some aspects of movement cannot be communicated to other individualities simply because it's not in their reality. Sometimes you see a person acting irrationally and you are like, isn't this person aware? And suddenly you say, no, that person, for them, reality, it made it make sense to say those words at that time, do those things at that time. So it's really important to see that safety is a concept where it's required in society. Existentially, there's no need for the concept of safety because aspects of your experience, again, are unspeakable. When you see that unspeakable aspect, you begin to see that your perception is not just only the amount of perception you can communicate. Like you have a certain amount of comfort with what you see and you communicate it. But you begin to see that as you see the things that are comfortable, it's like every simple thing you were comfortable with was making you more complex, making you more comfortable with the complex. Consciousness is not in an illusion. It is just that when an individualization, when an individual form is considered within one's existential view, that is the immediate reality where movement is being consciously viewed by that aspect, So what that means is if I just put one finger in, for example, a pond, I begin to see that all these ripples are made by one finger, and this one finger is just one reality. I got, for example, 4 other fingers, that are, in a sense, have many different ways they can experience the water and giving new ripples based on their design. Life is something that you must begin to see and work with as a flow, because in that flow, you're also working with many aspects of your self change. So you have either a choice to consider yourself as a person who's not changing much, or you can have a way of perceiving where you're seeing infinite change. When you're seeing infinite change, what that really means is that your ability to confronting the life that is there has increased to a point where you are aware of everything. Because infinity is not a concept to just look up in the dictionary. Infinity is an experiential thing. It's a very direct experiential thing. And so you need to be mindful of sometimes the intensity you're perceiving things, sometimes the quality of your perception. How am I perceiving reality? Is this complete? Could I have been confused? Where is this I coming from? How is this I, which I consider to be the madness of ego, irrelevant to my eyes? What is emptiness in a world filled with forms? So, you know, once you confront these, and be comfortable confronting these guys, because you are not just a human being with limitations that's just stuck. You are an evolving human being. Do you know, there's aspects of you evolving and having more ability to be self-aware. So what that means is, for example, we saw as the ape evolved, man got self-awareness. So it's as if one form became aware. Now, again, the next leap of evolution, it's as if man's self-awareness is also evolving too. It's as if we are being self-aware in more than one individuality. We have our evolutionary scheme totally wrong. That is not a cosmic one. The cosmic evolutionary scheme is that the individuals in the plane get such an understanding, which in a sense is the complete understanding of the plane, and then the plane transcends as well. It dissolves. So we must not, you know, make too much of a big deal out of that. It is unhealthy for the psychology of a mind that is expanding every moment. Our attention should be on the quality of experience that is our moment. In other words, right now, it doesn't matter what you go accumulate externally. Wherever you are standing, sitting, or walking, wherever you're hearing this talk, this moment that you have, its value is not irrelevant to anything you can compare. It's profound. Its transcendence is the fact that there is an unknown in your reality. We are an individual. We are an individual in a world with infinite forms. Our life forms is an experience beyond how the surface is, because all our elders have been saying, do not judge a book by its cover. And what that means is reality is covered because how you are giving it a value is not accurate to the existential change that is you. Your existential change is a simple awareness. So what that means is, all that I'm saying right now, regardless of its depth, is as simple as going by a nature trail and simply standing there and just observing the stream. And just recognizing that there is a direction in complete non-direction. There is a direction, there's an intelligence in emptiness. The vacuum that holds all that we consider, all that many have said to be the only matter, is one where the observer is becoming now conscious. So, the reason man has so many profound abilities to suddenly expand his consciousness is because all his limitations, all his views on thinking that he doesn't have ability is not based on a complete perception. In other words, we think we've completely observed the ape. No. We have still yet a couple of years to observe the human form. But now, as beings, we need to acknowledge ourselves greater. So in other words, no longer have a fantasy story, no longer have a sci-fi story. Go experience everything that you know within your moment. And truly see what is the value of your being before you call it a human being, before ideology individualizes for them to be association. This is, by the way, all in the sense of awareness, guys. These all can be done in silence, in just a very calm state of your being. These are all aspects of contemplation. So they're not things that I'm saying you go do objectively. They're just ideas which in a sense are communicated through a vaster view. And this vastness is one that has understood that the unknown is present. And the unknown does not mean that, gosh, you don't know it, so try to figure it out, try to shape it. No. It means become aware of why your perception is the way it is. And that is when the way simply becomes how you perceive all manifestation to be. Because I have recognized something that has come to me, which I've noticed many gurus perhaps have not communicated, or it has not maybe been communicated to the West that much. But what it is that many people who seek the spiritual path think that it's something that comes only when they're ready, and they just don't know when they're ready, so they go into abstraction. No. The spiritual seeker must understand that he is not seeking through a sense of any story. You're not a character in a story. You are a being who's becoming aware simply, very simply, of the advancement that is existence. And sound will begin to geometrize in the sense that your abstraction is allowing so much compassionately your sense of self to be present among all, that there could never be a hateful reality because harmony was its greater alignment. It's as if the alignment was there, you realize that you are it too. Do not seek life as if you're, again, a character in a story. Because the spiritual seeker will find those cognitions, those profound enlightened views are ones that is not just his physical body changing, is his whole reality changing. So there have been moments where I have been present, and the way I've been aware of my moment has made me, I cannot say it. There are no words aside from just vast words of poetry which I can shout, but it is in a sense one that it's like you know where your home is, so you're there always. Do you know? It's as if one memory of goodness was enough to, in a sense, get rid of all the negative ones. Do you know? All those parents who thought, regardless of how much family values, their kids might go get lost in this world that is massively putting ideas into people's minds when they should be generating new ideas, It's an interesting phenomenon, but they should not forget that perhaps that one moment where there was that motherly affection or fatherly affection or brotherly affection or sisterly affection or any form of affection, whether it was just you and just, for example, with even animals and nature, one moment of you being alive and just knowing peace is enough to get rid of all the clumsy illusions that are kept to just give you a spectrum. Seek more than your spectrum and you shall become all that you are. You will see that in one step you will be an individual who is lost and seeking reunion. And you will see in the next step, you are your whole reality tearing apart. And you will see the next step. You are the emptiness that is existentially always free, present. And beyond that, you are again the possibility of all that you know so far. So if you do not value playfulness in this reality, you will get too agitated in thought in regards to what is real. What is real should be calmly something you are just experiencing and understanding. What that means is there have been people known to just, these dervishes who would go, into the desert and they would just only have these very, very wild spiritual men they would only eat, for example, walnuts or something, almonds, They would just eat one a day and they would cultivate their energy. And so even in ancient Indian tradition, ancient Indian culture, we have yogis who just stood present. They went in samadhi and just their body was just kept by their knowing of all that they are. It's a very profound experience, but one must always be aware. So I do talk a lot about having a playful approach to reality, but in that playfulness, you must always be aware of what is there. Do you know? You're playing in clarity, not playing in illusion. Remember this. You as a being are being playful in clarity in the sense that you know yourself. That is why you are safe. That is why you are beyond safe. Because simply you know thyself, as a man said long ago. you will see that a transcendental view will come, and in a sense, the simple things in your reality which you've had a normal value will suddenly get a deep value, you know. I hope that my talks even provide a depth that is useful for others. Because if we do not take existential responsibility for all that exists, we are choosing to fade in an individual view. Those transcendental views are communications that by allowing yourself all of reality to, in a sense, come in front of your eyes, and for you to see a transparency that was always what was giving life to thought. Man is a greatness beyond all that he can ever know. But what he can know is basking in that light of greatness. And the yogis and the rishis and the seers of thought understood this. Whatever experience you get, whether it's a profound imagery that comes through a dream, comes through whatever, respect your day. At the moment you wake up, your whole body, your whole mind, your whole thought, your whole environment, respect it in the sense that you are, in a sense, giving all your, how do I say it? Just very compassionately taking care of things, not based on their imagery, but based on the flow of just how you intuitively naturally feel. So I guess in a sense, if I could simplify what I just said, it's like waking up and you are doing everything and being aware of its happening. As you observe thought, you realize an existential ability that you are beyond thought. And so as consciousness, you provide yourself more existential allowance in that you see that at first you thought suffering was bad. Then you saw, once you can internally confront suffering, it was a source of abstraction. We must realize that creativity is its own flow. Man thinking he's lost, when he's not allowing his awareness to integrate with his environment, it is a elusive reality. Movements begin with the certainty of your legs. And the greatest movements have begun simply and literally from that. Because if Martin Luther King couldn't move his legs, he literally couldn't have gone and given that speech. So the movement of your whole system, how you handle it, and how you let yourself simply do your activities throughout the day and tune in and intensify and see the beautiful complexities and the simplicities, and sometimes even take down complexities and simplify them, you will see that you are the creator of all that you can recognize within your moment of awareness. And as you become aware of this, thought is no longer something that is randomly coming to you. Every moment of your day, anything that happens to your day is magical. Because you're so aware of your presence that you see it as if it's a new communication. It's as if it's not just, at times, people talking to you. Sometimes it's certain moments. It's as if I walk into a certain, for example, when I was young, I walked into a certain cathedral and bam, just my mind was like, it was a totally different environment. And you see, it was something that just, in my allowance to explore my reality compassionately, ability was restored in the sense that it was recognized, it was never lost. So the transcendental view is a fluctuation in your normal imagery throughout your day to show you that it is up to you to choose how much you can, in a sense, go into the rabbit hole, follow that rabbit into the rabbit hole. In a sense, how much are you willing to very compassionately and in a very observant way, as if you had the longest beard that was every beard that every wise man could dream of, in the sense that you had a maturity in your existential understanding that recognized it's non-existence. That is a profound moment. And Tibetan Buddhism and general Buddhism, in the Buddha's work, was this. His life's work was to communicate to us that humanity can experience greater states of being where within you is how you're kept, not based on your external. So survival of the fittest is just an idea of a guy who had an external understanding of reality. But understanding internal cultivation, the fact that the oneness that many people speak of is not fluffy, but it's actually the absolute reality. It's that moment where you turn off the TV, turn off the phone, turn off all those ideas that are, in a sense, telling you there's other more important things to do, and you even get rid of the concept of time and space, and you realize you have come into the cave, which is the silence of your being, and you acknowledge the reality. You become transparent in a way where transcendental views were your actual presence in that experience. That memory was the information of the actual world that existed. And so your mind is never, in a sense, creating realities that it's leaving behind. It is tuning into the possibility that it is in the many lights that are creating it. And these many lights are, in a sense, an infinite understanding that transcendence is knowing yourself beyond any idea of self. And that emptiness is the Rishi's breath as he opens his eyes after having written many words sprouting from nothing. Man's greatest ideas sprout from nothing, and that is the most beautiful poetry. So I have known that I have written many lines of poetry that just simply the way it's written has been very beautiful to me, you know, but I've seen it's simply how the poem stopped, which gave me its own value. It's how in your moving life, in your life which you feel you're lost and confused and incapable, you in a sense stop all reality and become a moment of awareness. A moment of awareness. And as you become a moment of awareness, your playfulness is constantly expanding your vision. So think of it this way, in the financial world, it is, I wanted to study finance at first in my life, and I was totally inspired by this idea that to make money would be to do a project that the money is coming 24/7. So this was my mentality of actually going into the financial world. But I recognize eventually to even seek money as an idea is just moving into abstract realms where identity only a selfless person can survive. However, the reason I'm communicating that is because it's a method that's working while you can even go on the day and make you work another job, for example. So similarly, in regards to how reality projects itself, when we look at what is here, an aspect of us is continuing already. So there is, I have recognized moments where I have been careless, still there has been an intelligence that's been paying attention. And that intelligence is simply how there are many processes occurring. So what that means is, as a being gets a greater understanding, right now the human being is at this physical, let's say, platform, this physical station, which we're calling, many people are saying the human body, but it's not the human body, it's all the imagery that is relevant to that which can be individual. However, to continue, all forms melt in your observance, similar to how candlelight dissolves in sunlight, which is part of the beautiful poetry that Rumi has communicated. And so when dissolution is present, you see that there will be a moment where you cannot continue anymore. You see this, again, this physical platform is one where it's as if we have come from the ape, we are more self-aware and we're seeing we're more than animals. But at the same time, there is an aspect of us which is already more evolving in front of us. How would I say it? If you are someone who segments your senses of time and space, let's use the concept of a future self. Your sense of future self, if we were to look at how evolution is going from form and transcending, it is going as if monkey, man has an ability to be self-aware and is recognizing that he's a collective intelligence. So immediately the evolutionary thing stops here, because there's an unspeakable aspect, an aspect of the experience of the being which is not communicable. But you can still realize how it goes up. So how it goes up is that the next sense of greater beingness that Mr. Within finds that an individual goes through, imagine a normal person in a park and suddenly his leap, is one where his experience is becoming instant and in a sense within all things. So you're no longer a perception just through a body of one individual body of conception. It's as if your mind is confronting all reality in realizing that it's kind of like pulling you out. It's as if taking off this kind of machine that's off your head, which is all these ideologies which are working with a sense that the imagery is defined beforehand. It's unnecessary to work that way. Your ideology should be a natural relationship. It should be similar to how you work with your ideas in your internal dimension. It should be similar to how very calmly you go and you check on a garden, for example. When you go in a forest or when you go in nature, it's just like the nature adjusts your awareness. It's as if sometimes I've gone in nature and I've been so for example, let's say, my thoughts been agitated and what, it's as if I've looked around me and my whole environment is just thriving and open, and it's as if nature was telling me, what are you doing, man? Get up, don't act like this here, So give yourself a moment to observe imagery, the nature of reality, and allow your transcendental view to allow yourself to extract an experiential value from your transcendental view, or those images that are communicated to you that are suggesting your reality is beyond how it used to be. Multidimensionality is very real, and this should be communicated now. And Mr. Within is saying this, and probably some other insane people, on the streets. But what I'm trying to communicate is that we do have a multidimensional nature, and it's about time we begin to take very intelligent steps to it. We have to engineer a sense of cultural phenomena, a new renaissance that incorporates all the ideas lost in segmented sense of time into one which they can have value now. So what that means is history is being shown as if, it was like this back then and it's not like this now. No. It was like back then. Everything exists at the same time. Do you know what I mean? It's a movie. It's not a snapshot thing. History is not books. It's a movie. It's an intelligent progression. It's the movement of life. It's that tornado that is breaking the structures of man, similar to the house he made, which he forgot that he must also look outside of. I hope these ideas have been communicated properly, and I hope that you understand that regardless, the receiver is the essential point here. How you are receiving life, how you are perceiving life, it is not a soft thing. Don't think you need a soft answer. Don't think you could be, for example, living a life in one way and trying to want another life. You must realize how you're living in those same actions. So if a Zen master was to somehow walk into Hollywood and begin communicating with all those people, they would clear up that space in the sense that saying, let yourself be. And the actors would immediately understand. I think actors would become the greatest meditators because they are aware of how they have played certain personalities in reality. They are aware of what personality is. They are aware of how they can become another person in a movie, And perhaps, I've heard a certain actor, I think his name, Johnny Depp, is, he doesn't watch his movies, I've heard. And that's I totally understand that, because he's in a state where he is saying, I am embracing such new ideas, that the old ideas are irrelevant. Those senses of self are not me. I do not see them. You know, it's as if it's not real for Johnny Depp to see himself be another character, because he knows himself well, perhaps, you know, as a being. But regardless, if these Zen monks were somehow to go in Hollywood, you know, and they would in a sense bring forth an understanding that your moment of being is significant beyond your ideology. And so all these people getting distracted in the confusions of other people is unnecessary, you know? Like YouTube videos, YouTube was a natural phenomenon, but gosh, it's like, it's, you know, we need to have more realer conditions, realer imagery, you know? If it was me, I would say, I would ask, Mr.Within would kindly ask every person to just upload a nature video. Let's just upload so many nature videos that YouTube's like, gosh, no man. And if everybody eventually sees that, oh my God, there's so many nature videos, let's just go in nature. Such a ridiculous plan. But anyways, it is very essential to be aware, guys. This is self-awareness. It's a beautiful thing. It's your experience. You do not need a teacher, guru, or an advisor, or an external guidance, even in your abstract senses in regards to, you know, forms of guidance, regardless of however it comes to you, you know, whether they're guides or other beings. You know. Regardless, you must always know that all that externality is communicating to you, all that these senses of other are communicating to you, is a greater understanding of self. So regardless of what you did to that person who was suffering, it's as if the purpose of that person suffering in front of you showed you that, gosh, suffering is wrong, you know? Because a person who's suffering is perhaps suffering to a condition where he's not even self-aware. It's as if life is not taking care of itself, do you know? And a person who is healthy, who sees an unhealthy person, it's as if a part of me just immediately wants to invest all the finances of the world into just adjusting, just getting rid of hunger, do you know, world hunger. It's crazy. I think many people have this feeling and they're like, gosh, you know, they come back to a reality where their steps seem small. But your steps are never small, guys. Even talking about these ideas is having great effects. Because regardless of if these ideas are valued now or not, in some period of time, some guy's going to come up and he's going to look back and he's going to, wait a minute, there's a good idea there. Sometimes you might see that your communications might seem like you're not contributing. But in your authentic living, you are being provided as imagery for other human beings to learn from. So I noticed the greatest contribution, the greatest way I can, in a sense, contribute and help others was to immediately understand that the nature of being that can really make this world a good one and that is very efficient is one of compassion. So immediately I just took myself as the most compassionate person. I was like, if I hanged out with the Dalai Lama, what kind of, you know, what kind of person would I be? So when I did that, I noticed that my honesty got rid of my illusions very quickly. The minute you become authentic and honest, your illusions fade. They cannot remain because self-awareness is obtained. Self-awareness is that moment where you are confronting your fear and you're like, gosh, now that I see both sides, I have a greater ability. It's like that person who suffered, regardless, after he survived, he just knew that he had climbed a mountain, a great mountain of experience. And he has scars to show. But regardless, everything must be taken playfully, and human beings must realize that reality is what it is. Keep it this simple, but always observe it in complex ways. Live simply, but have such a complex experience. And of course, be playful with any spectrum and polarity. I feel like I would like to end this talk with a mantra. And perhaps in a moment of stillness, find yourself among that silence that's about to begin. Much blessings. And namaste.